This would really hurt the Russians, to suspend them from the Security Council, to cut off their voice to the world, and also to cut off their ability to stymie any plans to a democratic solution in Ukraine. Over a whole host of things, Syria and the war in Ukraine, the UN has been absolutely toothless. It's almost been pathetic, its inability to do anything, not least because the Russians will veto it. When it comes to trying to stop the war in Syria, again, the Russians were at the heart of it and the UN could do nothing. When it came to the grain deal, I and others called on the UN to get involved and protect the shipping, taking the grain to starving people in Africa. But Russia vetoed it. So I think, Russia is acting as a terrorist state and should not have a seat as a permanent member in the UN Security Council. The Russians enjoy their seat at the table. I mean, they were the president of the UN Security Council in April, setting the agenda. At the same time, they were committing atrocities, bombing schools and hospitals. And only this week, they bombed the blood bank in Kherson. I mean, this is an organization that should not be at the very seat of power. And I think the reaction coming out of Moscow to me, shows that this would really hurt the Russians, to suspend them from the Security Council, to cut off their voice to the world, and also to cut off their ability to stymie any plans to looking at peace or support to a democratic solution in Ukraine, I think needs to be looked at. A number of current ministers in the government have expressed privately to me that they think this is absolutely spot on. So to me, it is something that we should consider, because if it brings about a peace in Ukraine because the Russians just cannot face the prospect of not being at the seat of power, then so be it. And I think it's we are trying everything to end this war. At the moment, it's purely a military solution, but actually, maybe there is a political solution that involves putting Russia out into the wilderness for a while and then bring it back in when it is in a position that it's no longer a terrorist state. The supply lines are being squeezed, militarily and physically. The Russian campaign is being squeezed. If politically, with the UN suspension squeezing as well, the lifeblood will go out of it. And I think there is a point that Putin might not see a way out and might go to chemical weapons. But also, I think at the same time, there's a point when the Russian people realize what folly they've been involved in and will, oust him. Whoever comes might be worse, but they're not going to have the tools of war to play with that Putin did in February 2022, not for some time anyway.